Hey! I did not expect that to work. I really didn't. And now our opponent's getting completely owned by Bajuka Bog. Okay. Well, this was an easy game. Hello and welcome, guys. We are here for match 1 with a new list. We are still on the Chalice of the Void tech here in the sideboard, trying to hose some prowess opponents and get some additional threats against control. But, speaking of additional threats against control, we have a new man in town, and by that I mean Garruk Relentless, one that I have actually played in Amulet before and thought was relatively promising. Comes into play with 3 counters. If he ever has 2 or fewer counters on him, then it transforms into the backside, Garruk the Veil Cursed, hence the name Cursed Amulet. And the front half has 2 0 abilities. The first is to deal 3 damage to a creature, and then that creature deals damage equal to its power to Garruk. And then the second 0 just simply makes a 2/2 green wolf. So, on the front side, this is already a 4-mana planeswalker that can come down 0 to kill a creature like a Monastery Swiftspear, or Soulscar Mage, or Dark Confidant, or whatever. You know, Scourge of the Skyclaves onto various things, while also still retaining in play, usually, and flipping to the backside. And if you're playing against a control deck, you just sit there and pump out 2/2 green wolves that eventually your opponent will have to deal with. But things get more interesting when Garruk is flipped to the backside, Garruk the Veil Cursed. This is a planeswalker that is capable of +1ing to place a 1/1 black wolf with Death Touch on the battlefield, so very good for chump blocking and just taking down big creatures, even Death Shadows, whatever it is, as long as the wolf does the damage, it'll be good enough. And then a -1 that lets you sack a creature, search a library for a creature, put it into your hand, and then shuffle. So if you have an extra Grazer lying around, you get to sacrifice it and turn it into a Primeval Titan, just ready to go. And a -3, which is an overrun related to the number of creatures in your graveyard. That is never relevant anyways. Oftentimes, Garruk doesn't even get flipped. So, the reason for this inclusion is not only because it's good against prowess, but because this is one we can slip in underneath counter magic, similar to Tireless Tracker. A 4-mana sorcery speed card is no problem for Amulet. It does get hit by Force of Negation, but let's be honest, who cares? It's Garruk Relentless that we're talking about here. I've been having a lot of fun with Amulet, doing relatively well just with whatever builds I can put together. Hive Mind, Chalice of the Void, playing Karns, not playing Karns, playing Elvish Reclaimer, not playing Elvish Reclaimer. I'll probably make a video with Reclaimer Amulet at some point in time in the future. It just feels like Amulet is in a good spot right now, and why not do something a little bit fun while you're playing the deck? Hence, we're playing Garruk Relentless again. And I should point out, if you want to play Garruk Relentless for yourself, the price for Garruk Relentless is extremely low. If you're playing here on Magic Online, you can pick up copies of Garruk Relentless for literally 7 cents. You can get 4 copies of Garruk for less than 2 quarters on Magic Online, and in paper, it'll cost you about $4, $5 a pop for each Garruk. So if you want to drop $15 to be able to play a little spicy list, add a couple Garruk Relentless to your deck, then it's pretty cheap to do so. So, before we jump into the league, I do want to make the mention that I am aware that Garruk gives us a little bit of a hard time against some of our opposing combo decks, things that don't care about Garruk's abilities at all, things that just kill you on the spot, and for that reason, we are leaning pretty heavily on Chalice of the Void in the sideboard. This is going to be one to deal with Storm, Infect, Prowess. Of course, this list is very hardly gunning against Prowess, as you can clearly tell. 3 Dismembers, 3 Explosives, 3 Chalices, 4 Grazers, 3 Relentless. Hopefully we should never lose that matchup. And that's the plan against the unfair decks, but who cares about unfair decks? Nobody plays unfair decks in Modern, right? So, anyways, without further ado, let's jump straight into the match. My original reasoning for putting together a Garruk Relentless list was because I wanted to be able to try Karn the Great Creator, a card I had never tried in Amulet, and let's just be honest, Karn is very expensive, both in paper and online. I was like, well, what's the difference? Let's just play a different 4-mana Planeswalker. And hence this list was born. And here we go, we get a turn 2, nah, it's not turn 2 Karn, it's very close. We get a turn 2 Dryad, though. We're definitely keeping this. We would like to draw any land at all. And that's about all we need for this hand. And we already have Garruk Relentless just chilling out here. You know. Play against Mishra's Bauble. Ooh, our opponent had revealed a Lurrus. I did not even recognize that. doesn't really change much. I think this hand is still fine. I would expect Garruk Relentless to be decent against a Lurrus deck. Considering Garruk himself can actually just kill Lurrus straight up. It would trade for the Garruk, but regardless. No discard spell as well is very interesting to me. Alright, so let's start on the Amulet. And we'll graze out a Dryad. Maybe Cycle Explore to see if we can hit a land. Although, to be honest, we can cast Titan this upcoming turn, assuming our Dryad doesn't die just by playing Sanctuary twice, thanks to the help of our Castle Garenbrig, so there's that. I mean, we're definitely putting Dryad into play here. Boom. Let's cycle this Explore as well, I do suppose. Shame that we can't inform our land pickup here before we have to... Or after we draw the card from Explore. But we did hit the land, so that's good. If our opponent kills our Dryad, we get to slam Garruk. Sentences never said before in Modern. That is, of course, if they do kill our Dryad. If they don't kill our Dryad, then they might just be dead. Kroxa. Whew, you get to see a spicy one. Garruk Relentless to the bin. Boros Garrison doesn't really bother us that much, as we are here to do the Titan things anyways. We can just pick up the Valcut and leave maximum number of lands in play. We only need 4 to activate Garenbrig, so that's fine. In fact, we could play the Garrison here if we wanted to. And we could get Valcut and Slayer Stronghold. I think that's fine. We'll activate here, leaving the... It doesn't matter which color we leave floating here, but it's fine. Titan into play. Do the attacking thing. Our opponent just got to see a random Garruk Relentless. Who knows what's going on? Kroxa. Not sure exactly. I mean, we're playing against some sort of Grixis deck, obviously. It's probably Grixis Death Shadow, I would think. Which makes me interested in Chalice of the Void, specifically for the number 1. And for that reason, we're going to immediately trim a couple Grazers, if not all of them, to be honest. They do block, but that's about it. Explosives seems good. Tracker seems good. Dismember seems eh. I think I like a couple of Dismembers. They sometimes don't kill Shadows, though, but they are nice to be able to deal with Lurrus, so a couple Dismember seems fine. We can trim on Pact. We can trim on the Cavern. I almost said Castle. What am I saying? What else? I do like Garruk in this matchup, although it probably is not a great matchup against big creatures like Death Shadow and Sprite Dragon. Those are the type of things that I would expect. We can probably trim the Azusa. Not going to be super necessary here. I wouldn't even mind trimming another Grazer, but let's sort by mana value here. Not worried about taking too much damage from our own lands. Definitely trim a Garruk, I think. They also are weak to Stubborn Denial, which is something to consider. Trim a Grazer, I suppose. Maybe it's just Garruk, but I want to play Garruk. We'll trim the Turn Timber. And one other card. Oh, Ghost Quarter, of course. We're not really using Ghost Quarter in this matchup. There's a Garruk. We get a turn 2 Chalice on 1, and a turn 3 Explore, and a turn 4 Garruk. I think we keep this. No, we don't get to Explore on turn 3, actually, because the Growth Chamber would enter tapped, but... Inquisition. This is a little bit of a risky one, considering our only colored source enters tapped, but it's fine. See if our opponent takes Chalice. They do. There's our untapped source, which is fantastic. Do we just go ahead and play Explosives on one? I don't think there's a reason to do that necessarily. If we play our fetch now, we could fetch a tapped Breeding Pool, which is somewhat interesting to me. We don't want to take too much damage if we can avoid it. It's close. I also don't want our opponent to know that we can cast Explore. I'll just play the Radiant Fountain out and pass. This way, we can go to 19 and get the Breeding Pool and have not taken any damage effectively, except for the 1 for the fetch. Although, still, we would have gained 2 down the line with the Fountain, so it's not quite like that, but regardless, I don't want our opponent to just know that they could hold up Stubborn Denial, for example. If they Inquisition, they have to choose between taking our Explosives or our Explore. Either way, we're probably okay with it. Kroxa. Alright, I think we do have to pitch a land here. Probably just the Stronghold. Unfortunately. Yeah, I think it's the Stronghold. We'll explore into Growth Chamber here. Gear up for a turn 3 Garruk. And are we shocking? I think we are. It enables our opponent's potential Scourge of the Skyclaves, but we were already doing that by going below a certain life total anyways. We have a Titan now, and Garruk plus the land, so we have our green sources to activate, and we have a Titan to cast. We have explosives for interaction, and Garruk as an intermediary threat, so... Like, if they take Garruk here, they leave us with a Primeval Titan, and if they take the Primeval Titan, then they leave us with a Planeswalker in play. Can't imagine that they would love having a Garruk in play, but... They do take the Garruk. Look at that. How interesting. Do they have a threat? The Cleansing Wildfire. Ooh. Okay. Chalice. Here you go. On 1. Actually, hold on. Do we want to play explosives off of one of these colored mana before we play this Chalice? Radiant Fountain's an easy play. Explosives on 1 is good against Death Shadow. I don't think our opponent has necessarily been taking damage from their lands, though. In fact, I think they have not shocked the lands they put into play, so it's very possible they're just on a control deck. If we put Chalice on 2, it'll counter future Cleansing Wildfires and Croxos and maybe Snapcaster Mages if they have them. It's possible Chalice on 2 is actually... Oh, wait, we can't Chalice on 2 this turn, and I don't want it to get discarded. We probably are Chalicing on 1. I think we wait on the explosives, in all honesty. We don't really know what our opponent's doing just yet, so we'll just play the Chalice on 1 and pass. Who cares if we counter our 1 Arboreal Grazer or Amulets that we draw? I don't really care. They weren't doing much for us here anyways. I guess Chalice on 0. No, we have Summoner's Pact. We don't want to Chalice on 0. Would have been nice to be able to Chalice on 2 just to make sure this Croxa can't give us problems, but hopefully we'll be able to get to Titan before they get to Croxa, or just outpace a Croxa by having a Titan in play. I don't know, though. I am not super faithful on that one. We could also just naturally top deck Bojuka Bog, which would be cool. And this is also why we fetch Shocked for the Breeding Pool, as now we have Explosives on 2 as a possibility. Amulet. Right on time. Totally didn't mention that we would just casually draw that one. At least we can discard it to Croxa and not have to lose life. Do we want to put Explosives on 2? Just for dealing with the Croxa? I think that we do. Sure. We have discard fodder in our hand already, so we don't need to worry about that. This will help us insulate ourselves from Croxa. We can also pop Explosives in response to some kind of, like, Kolaghan's Command or Prismari Command type effect, if they had it. So that's why we're not yielding through the turn here. The Wildfire, our castle. We'll float the mana, I guess. I mean, they're keeping us another turn away from Titan, but still. They aren't really making a whole lot of headway here. I guess they were hoping to maybe hit land. I don't know. I wonder how much work this Chalice on 1 is doing as well. There's no way to know. Another Titan is not super helpful. Alright, well, we'll pass it back. Alright, Garruk off the top is a good one. Bounce Lane off the top is still fine. It doesn't cast Titan immediately, but it doesn't necessarily need to. Lurrus could be a problem. I'll tell you what it's not getting back is Death Shadow. Don't know if our opponent's on that at this point. I'm not sure. The third Titan, okay. I'm not sure if our opponent is on a Shadow deck at this point. It doesn't necessarily look like it. It's good information to know. Here comes Lurrus. Getting back a Bauble, I'm presuming. Well, maybe Chalice on 0 would have been much better here. Definitely Chalice on 0 looking pretty promising. There's no way we could have known that, but... pretty amusing. Alright, Garruk off the top one time. Come on. I know we only have 2 left in deck, but come on. Garruk. Garruk. Hey! I did not expect that to work. I really didn't. And now our opponent's getting completely owned by Bojuka Bog. Okay. Well, this was an easy game. No problemo. Do we get Talari West? I don't see why not. What else could we get? I think it's just Talari West. Our opponent concedes. Well, they figured it out. Well, that was quite the experience. We boarded for a Death Shadow matchup and saw no creatures, had dead, explosives, amulet that we couldn't cast into our own Chalice on one. Didn't matter. Garruk's just too powerful. Our opponent thought sees away a Garruk instead of a Titan. That's something you don't see every day. Yeah, I don't have anything else to say. That was pretty cool. I will see you guys for the next round. This is Redface Menace, signing off.